I'm Berks County Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and I want to welcome you to the Berks County Board of Commissioners meeting for December the 17th of 2020 and the very last Commissioners Board meeting of 2020. At this time, I want to recognize Mary Buer, my Executive Assistant.
Thank you. Public comment will be accepted through the Q&A function. Please include your first name, last name, and municipality. Any comments without name and municipality will not be considered. Each citizen can submit one comment. Comment length is dictated by limitations of the platform being used: Teams Q&A, Facebook, YouTube. The meeting comment period is limited to 30 minutes in total. Please be concise. Comments will be read during the meeting and should not be considered to be interactive dialogue with the commissioners. Any commissioner response to public comment will be done at the discretion of the commissioners.
Thank you. As always, we will begin with a moment of silence followed by a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since this is the last meeting of 2020, this is also the meeting at which we will be voting on the final budget for 2021. And at this time, to present that final budget, I'd like to recognize Berks County Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Bob Patrizio. Bob?
Commissioner, thank you very much. I appreciate that introduction. And I'd like to say that it's an absolute honor to come before the board again and review with you the revisions we've made to the 2021 budget. As you know, we presented the budget on November 19th. On the same day, we made the budget available for public inspection and comment on our county website, on the commissioner homepage of our county website, and also by appointment if someone wanted to walk in and receive a hard copy. We did receive one comment. It was last week. It was a phone call, and I had a discussion with a citizen of our county, and in particular, they had a question about what the composition of our general government and miscellaneous expenditure categories included. I went through that with them in detail, and at the conclusion of our call, they indicated that they were very satisfied with the explanation, that it made sense, and they had no further questions or concerns. Which brings us to today. Because we posted the budget for inspection on the 19th, we satisfied the county code minimum 20-day requirement as of yesterday. So the board is in a position to adopt the budget today. But before we do so, it's incumbent upon me at a published advertised public meeting to review the key revisions that we've made. They include the following with respect to revenues. We had an increase in health choices revenue. There's an actuary study that's done each year. It was a little late this year, so the final allocation wasn't known until after we proposed the budget, but we have an additional $12.9 million in revenue based on the actuary study, which the state uses to determine what the local need is for that kind of assistance. We also were notified that we have another $2.5 million in community development and additional CARES Act funds, CDBG, ESG, or the Berks County Redevelopment Authority carries out that entire programming for us. So we're putting that into the revenue side of the budget. Our aging department indicated that the funding they received earlier this year, they still have $400,000 left that can be carried over and spent in the first half of next year. I recall when we first received that, it was was going to be used for meals for aged individuals. If you think like congregate meals, Meals on Wheels, those kind of things. And then, of course, in the proposed budget, we did mention the Child Alliance Center for the district attorney, and we got more better information related to the grants for that. So we made an increase for that, and also the detectives run a forensic lab, and they received an additional grant. And then on the expenditure side, primarily increases with one decrease. The first three items are correlated directly to the revenue items, the first three, and as they should be. These are restricted to purpose funds by federal state regulations, and you have to spend it for those purposes. You can't use that money to fund your general operations in any way. We could never use that money, for example, to fund election services or our IT department or our jail cost. So you would expect that those three items would correlate dollar for dollar, and they do. And as a result, those items, these changes have no impact on our general fund or our total fund surplus or deficit for 2021. I'm pleased to report we have an incremental 3.5 FTE reduction in our wages. It rounds to 200,000. It's closer to 150,000. It's 3 judicial staff, primarily being zero budgeted because we have a Commons plea judge that's retiring the end of this year, or maybe has already retired. Forgive me if I don't have that correctly. But nevertheless, we don't need the funding in next year's budget. We will have to restore it in 2022, however, should a new judge be elected next November and takes office in January of 22. And we had a vacancy, OS vacancy in Parks since 2018 that our Director of Parks indicated was okay to zero budget. On the jail side, looking at additional data on inmate health, we determined we needed to add some funds for that. The jail did a better analysis or more accurate, thorough analysis of their COVID requirements and asked that we add 48,000 for COVID supplies, which we've done. And we added equipment, and commissioners, I know all three of you are aware it's about the body cam solution that we've added for our first line supervisors, our sergeants in the jail. We've also made capital plan adjustments. We're at a total now of 17.7 million, increases 2 million. Of that total 17.7, 11.5 now is general fund. You'll recall that in the proposed budget, that number was 9.3 million. And the reasons for these increases are election services, 1.1 million for electronic poll books. I did mention in my proposed budget that we thought we were going to be adding that it wasn't in there, but we were going to add it. We've had a discussion in an operations meeting since we proposed the budget for the jail to add not to exceed $500,000 for trailer office space, primarily exclusively to move the jail administrative staff from the BCRC back to the jail location so that the management can be in close proximity to the operations there. And part of that rationale is it doesn't appear that we'll be in a position to build a new jail anytime within 3 years. So it's just a little untenable to keep them where they're at for that long a period of time. So I think that's a reasonable addition. And then Parks, we got better analysis for the, I say Gringe Mill Trail here, but it's really Union Canal Trail. It needs some work. We added 154,000 for that. The YRF Youth Rec Field parking lots, commissioners, I know you're aware of that. It's been determined that the parking lot is our responsibility, and the management company will be responsible for the field lights. That's 400,000. And then we've discussed forest management for a number of years, but we actually put $72,000 into the budget, and it's primarily for Antietam Park. In Berksheim, we actually lowered the capital plan by 200,000. We had in the proposed budget HVAC control system, and it was determined that that cannot wait until 2021. And obviously HVAC control in a nursing home is critical in terms of resident safety. So we're doing that in 2020. And anyone that's really doing the math in their head will see that I mentioned that the general fund piece is 2.2 million, and I said the overall capital plan went up by 2 million, and that's because of this decrease in Berks, which did not affect the general fund, but it did affect the overall aggregate county plan. So with that being said, we have a Berks net loss of 1.5 million now. We have an increase of 400,000. We did an analysis of all our overtime since we proposed the budget, and looked at the pools where we set certain departments. We set up overtime pools, and we determined that Berksheim's just not enough at 100,000, considering what's occurred this year, and the fact that we may not clear immediately clear the COVID hurdle at the nursing home, and we felt we need a little more money, particularly in the first quarter next year, potentially second quarter. The issue here isn't that we're automatically paying overtime on regularly scheduled hours on weekends, but the issue is when people have had to self-isolate or isolate because they were exposed to a family member or someone else that contracted COVID, they weren't available on those regular scheduled hour shifts, first, second, third shift over the weekends. And therefore, we had volunteers that already had worked normal shift were being paid overtime, or we had to mandate people and pay overtime. That's primarily the driver for that adjustment. Now, someone that's paying attention might say, but you told us our total wages went down by 200,000 and you increased Berksheim's overtime wages by 400,000. That math doesn't work, and on the surface it doesn't. But because we looked at all the overtime pools and we looked at the 3-year progression, inclusive of 2021, we determined that there was other departments that we could lower the overtime pools. And we also looked at the part-time pools. These would be positions that we budget one line because they aren't regular, they don't rise to the level of regular, recurring, annual part-time positions that need to be funded. So we set a pool of funds aside, and we did an analysis of that and determined some of those pools based on our historical averages, actuals. Not just 21, we really took a hard look and measured against 2019 because of the COVID impact this year. But bottom line is we were able to make some reductions there, and as a result, we were able to make this a zero-based impact. And the effect of all of this on our unassigned general fund balance, which is what we can use for any general governmental purpose, it lowered to 123,000. The decrease is 2.3 million. It's primarily because of the general fund increase in capital of 2.2 million and the difference between the jail expenses that are added, which is general fund, less the wage savings, which is all general fund. So that puts us in a position today, commissioners, to recommend that you adopt the budget as required under county code for the general fund of $235.9 million expenditure budget. For all funds, which is inclusive of the general fund, a total expenditure budget of $566.7 million. You can see that these changes have spiked up the deficit for the general fund by 2 million, and also the deficit in the all funds by 2.8 million. Just looking at capital as we did in the proposed budget, it's 11.5 million general fund. If I add that back to the surplus for the general fund, we actually have, a deficit, we have a surplus. And if I do it for the all funds, we have a very small deficit, about 700,000, which on a $566 million budget is practically break even. So for those reasons, we continue to recommend we not raise taxes next year. We stipulate a tax rate today of 7.657 mils. And I just mentioned the tax revenue remains unchanged. As a footnote, we did get an updated list of appeals and that are going to go to court. We quantified the risk in that, and we determined that the reserve we had in our proposed budget was sufficient to not have to change this calculation. What I'd like to comment right now, though, is that I want to make one point right now before I go to the next slide, is that the changes we have made, you can see the changes here on revenues. You know, it's the grant revenues that we just talked about, and the expenses. It's the grant revenues that we just the expenditures related to the grant revenues primarily plus the capital. So this makes sense. Those changes, commissioners, that I just reviewed with you, do not rise to the level that requires us in county code to make this budget available for public inspection for an additional 10 days. So you are in a position to adopt the budget today without additional public inspection. This is the view we use when we manage our forecast. So since I presented it for proposed budget, I thought I would follow up with it today. You can see the budget deficit that we just went over for all funds. This is all funds is 12.1. You can see what we're doing here is we're adding back losses in the budget. This is where revenues fall short of expenses for restricted funds, special revenue funds that have fund balances or net assets that we cannot use to fund our general county operations. And it is appropriate to use those restricted fund balances because that's what we're required to do. So we're adding that back, and then we're adding back the general fund capital because it's a GFOA best practice to use reserves for capital rather than add debt service, which requires future tax increases. And when we add that back, we end up at the same net tax impact budget surplus that we had when we proposed the budget. And that's why I'm comfortable recommending you adopt this budget as revised today, Commissioners. So that completes my comments. I thank you for your attention, and I turn it over to you for comments, questions, adoptions, and your conflict of interest statements, I believe. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Bob. I appreciate the presentation. As always, you and your team have done a great job in detailing expenses, revenues, and everything going into the budget. We appreciate your work. As far as our statement of financial interest, I've already submitted mine through our Chief Clerk, Mary Jo Gibson. Any other comments or input before we accept a motion to adopt the budget?
I have also submitted my conflict statement as well to Mary Jo Gibson. And again, kudos to Bob and his budget staff in a trying environment to pull this together and do it in a real professional way, and holding the line on taxes as well is commendable for everyone involved in the process.
Yep. I have also submitted my statement as well, and also want to thank Bob and his team for the great work. I know it takes a long time and a lot of work, a lot of man hours to put this together, to look at it from different points of view, see what will work, what won't work. So Bob, thank you very much, and thank your team for me as well.
Thank you very much. The resolution for the budget adoption states adopt a resolution authorizing adoption of the 2021 Berks County budget and further establishing the 2021 real estate tax rate at 7.657 mils.
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Bob and Laura Jones, our deputy CFO, as well as the entire budget department team. At this time, I'd like to recognize Brian Gottschall. Brian is the director of the Berks County Department of Emergency Services, and he is the lead for the Berks County COVID-19 leadership team, and he's here with the weekly Berks County COVID-19 data report. Brian Gottschall.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Yes, as you said, our weekly data report, not as expansive as we had last week. We're not introducing anything particularly new as we did last week with the CDC excess death numbers, but we'll go through our normal slides. Again, as we've been seeing week over week, increases in all in all data points that are being tracked on the state early warning dashboard, again, with the exception of emergency department hospital visits due to COVID-like illness. And as I said last week, I continue to be surprised, challenged by this data point, and why we continue to see a small increase despite what we believe from our healthcare providers to be very high volume in our emergency departments for both COVID and non-COVID illnesses. Our smooth case and testing slides, we do see somewhat of a drop off in our testing over the last week while our cases continue to climb, again, refuting the assertions that the reason we're seeing more cases is because we're doing more testing. There certainly is a component to that. We wouldn't know the cases were out there if we weren't testing adequately, but it's not a direct ratio. It's not that, we're doing testing to find cases that we really shouldn't know about. We want to know about all the cases in the community so people can be warned to isolate and take appropriate actions until they're in a position to not potentially harm others. Our first test positivity slide continues to show a slow climb. We're up to 40% positivity on a 7-day smooth basis. This is the first time we've hit that number. We have peaked over 40% on daily positivity statistics on occasion, but we're now hitting that number as a norm, if you will, over a 7-day smooth period. This is a new slide. I elected to replace our case count per 100,000 of population because I felt it was somewhat redundant to the orange and blue slide that just shows raw case count. And instead, I wanted to take a look at the number of deaths that we've had in Berks County that are COVID related. According to the state data, we're at 502 as of yesterday. And the reason I wanted to show this slide is because although every death is a tragedy and every death indicates the human toll of the disease, the reality is that when we talk about 1 here, 2 there, even a day of 7 or 8, they sound like very small numbers, and it's very easy for us to lose sight of the total impact of this. And I think that by being able to look at how these very small day-to-day numbers down here in red end up giving us the green number that is the cumulative number over the entire event, it helps to really drive home that this is a lot of people. This is not 1 or 2. This is a large number of individuals, and for every single one of them, for their family, for their friends, this is a tragedy. Really important to keep that in mind as we consider our own personal actions and what we're willing to do in an effort to help mitigate the spread of the disease. These are the numbers from our county hospitals. We continue to see a climb, not only in total number of COVID or suspected COVID admissions in general, but also in our ICU occupancy, and a very alarming climb in our number of cases on vents, which of course are the most severe people that are hospitalized with this disease. I'll remind everyone that we were down in the 1, 2, 3 number just a few weeks ago with both hospitals combined, and we're now well into the double digits as of this last Friday. Our county comparison snapshot continues to trend in the way it has been, holding our own with testing, seeing our ordering in both deaths and cases per capita declining at a slow rate. Again, as I say every week, great news for Berks, but not great news for the bigger Pennsylvania community, because it simply means that other people are in a worse position than we are. We don't want anybody to be in that position. That's the end of the presentation for this week, Commissioner, unless you have any questions.
Brian, thank you very much. Since we have you on right now, I know that there is a question in the Q&A already on the vaccines, plans, strategy, etc. Can you give us the latest information available from your discussions with the local hospitals, DOH? Obviously, we did a great program yesterday with some of our local doctors that are very much in the know with Penn State Health and Tower Health.
Yes, just for formality, should I read the question before I address it?
Sure.
Okay, so this is from Melvia Ahmed in Wyomissing. It says, "Good morning, commissioners. A few weeks ago, Commissioner Leinbach gave a preliminary explanation of the vaccine rollout as it is expected to affect our community. Now that the vaccine has become available, how will that affect the timeline of a March rollout for first line workers and first responders and a June rollout for the general public?" So first of all, as Commissioner Leinbach alluded, the commissioners did a great presentation yesterday. I'm losing track. It's been a long night with the storm, but yesterday afternoon with members of our healthcare advisory panel, who are local physicians here in the Reading area from both Tower as well as Penn State St. Joe's, and also Dr. Keller, who's a community physician at the at the downtown clinic. And I would encourage everyone to go back on the county webpage or Facebook and take a look at that presentation. I think there was great dialogue and great discussion that got out, and those folks are infinitely more capable of addressing this matter than I am. But to try to speak to the specifics of the question, we're working with DOH on a continuous basis trying to understand this. And the honest reality of this is that DOH has not fleshed out the later distribution of vaccine to the extent that some of us hope it would have been. And that's not necessarily a criticism of them. There's still a lot unknown. Keep in mind that right now, the only vaccine that's going out the door is Pfizer, and that is the ultra low cold storage vaccine that is a little bit more difficult to manage than the hopefully later tranches of vaccine are going to be that don't require that ultra cold storage. Because of that, it's being handled by facilities like hospitals that have the capability and experience in doing that. So the question seems to allude to a March rollout for first-line workers and first responders. We believe that in Berks County, based on what our hospitals have told us about their expected receipt of vaccine, we're going to start to see vaccine being administered to people in Berks County next week, certainly well in advance of March. We're also working with some community partners to try to facilitate access to our EMS workers who are also identified as Tier 1A personnel for receipt of vaccine distribution. And we know that the contracts that have been let with major national pharmacies to provide administration in our long-term care facilities for both workers and patients are already underway. And apart from just anecdotal information about that, because the county does manage a nursing home, we know, for example, that Berksheim has had direct contact from Walgreens corporate about implementing that program in the in our own county nursing facility. So I want to make clear that this rollout, it really isn't anything we're waiting for. It is literally underway as we speak right now. What is more unclear is how other critical workers that are now identified as Tier 1B, which has become a very large population of people, from the version 2 of the interim state plan that DOH released to the version 3 of the interim plan that was just released last Friday. A large number of people have been consolidated from lower tiers into Tier 1B, which basically means that, you know, the same amount of vaccine is coming, but we put more people into that grouping. So it becomes a little bit more complicated for how we're going to sort that out and figure out who gets what when. We will, I think, commissioners, we can commit to doing everything that we've been trying to do all along to get information out about that during this program, during the various commissioners' programs and during other media outreach. But I would definitely encourage the public to just simply go to Google and type in PA-DOH for Department of Health COVID vaccine. That will take you to the PA-DOH COVID webpage where you can read the current release of the state vaccination plan. And again, this is updated on a periodic interval. The most current one that is there is V3 interim, but that is unquestionably the best way to keep yourself apprised about activities that are underway in Pennsylvania with our DOH about vaccine distribution.
Thank you very much, Brian. Any comments or questions for Brian from my colleagues? Mary Bjorn.
There is another comment, a question actually, in from M. Towns, Wernersville, directed to Brian. A neighbor asked me if the contact tracers leave a message if you don't answer their calls. I'm not sure if Brian would know the answer.
Yep, I'll do my best to address that, and I will clarify I'll clarify something related to that I think is very important. So the county has engaged with Co-County Wellness, a longtime public health partner in the Berks County community, to provide contact tracing in Berks County. And the individuals that work for Co-County Wellness, and in fact, some who are volunteering for Co-County Wellness and have received training to do this, are the individuals who receive information from the Department of Health about potential contacts and are then engaged to reach out to those potential contacts, let them know that there's been a contact, and provide them advice on how they should conduct themselves given their potential exposure. So there's kind of a level that comes before that, though, and that's when somebody gets a positive test result and that positive test result is entered into the National Disease Surveillance System, which is called NEDS. Our contact tracers are not given access to NEDS. Only DOH nurse epidemiologists are able to be aware of who that positive case is and make that initial contact of reaching out to that positive case to develop the list of potential contacts that is ultimately given to Co-County Wellness. Co-County Wellness has adequate depth in resources in order to complete their portion of the process very efficiently. And in fact, there are many cases where they're effectively waiting for DOH to give them contact lists to reach out to. They're doing their piece of the job very efficiently and very quickly. An honest problem that we're encountering right now is in DOH taking that first step. And I can speak with some authority here because I have some employees in my office who have ended up being positive for COVID, have performed their isolation in the way that they're supposed to, have acted responsibly in the way they're supposed to, in notifying their own contacts of the need to consider isolation because of the contact, but have never been contacted by DOH in order to provide a contact list to get to Co-County Wellness. So that was a very long way of getting to the answer to the question, which is in both cases, whether it is the DOH nurse epidemiologist or Co-County Wellness, a message is to be left for the person that is being contacted. And in fact, our understanding from DOH is they will even follow that up with a letter to the person's residence if the message is not responded to. But if the basis of the question is that someone has tested positive and has not received that first contact from DOH and is concerned that they may have missed it because there was no message left, the unfortunate reality is I expect that the DOH nurse epidemiologist has not yet reached out to that person. And we would not in any way discourage folks that have become aware that they are positive and want to do the right thing by providing their list of contacts to DOH to, instead of waiting, reach out directly to DOH at 1-877-PA-HEALT, and it's PA Health, but you don't need the last H because it's too many digits. So 1-877-PA Health. And let the public inquiry hotline know that you've received a positive test result and that you want to be proactive and do the right thing to get involved in the contact tracing process. So I hope that answered the question that was asked fully and perhaps even more fully than the requester wanted.
Thank you very much, Brian. Before I recognize Commissioner Barnhart, can we please post that DOH number for the public on both the Microsoft Teams as well as YouTube and Facebook Live? Commissioner Barnhart.
Thank you. I normally wait until the end of the meeting to explain Co-County Wellness's work so far. I think this is an appropriate time to do that. They presently have 24 contact tracers. They're training 6 more plus 3 volunteers because of the uptick in cases. So keeping in perspective, for the 5-month period, they had 2,806 contacts and had a 78% success rate. That was early on. Now, all in the matter of the last month, there's been 1,661 in 1 month. But our contact and number has gone from 78 down to 69%. So less people are following up with the contact tracing. So as I said yesterday on the media program with the healthcare providers, we need to boost those numbers back up. When that phone call comes to your home, to you, please be part of this contact tracing program. We have to work together to stamp out this virus together. And we were so very proud of our 78% success rate. Now we're in 69. Let's kick that back up. They're working very, very hard at Co-County Wellness. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnhart. That was a great idea to incorporate that now as we're having a discussion on the current COVID-19 data. Any other comments? Okay, let's move forward with our agenda. And I do want to thank Brian Gottschall. You do a great job every week providing understandable data that people can use here in Berks County. Are there any additions or corrections for the December 10th, 2020 Commissioner meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. We did have 2 executive sessions since our last commissioners meeting, one on December the 10th and one on December the 16th. The 10th was personnel, the 16th was personnel, litigation, and real estate. Mary, is there any public comment on specific agenda items?
No, there is not.
Okay, we will move to the agenda. Item 1, authorizing under that Budget Department, adopt a resolution authorizing 2020 budget transfers in the amount of $906,585 and 2020 appropriations in the amount of $157,435 per listing dated December the 14th of 2020. We have several items listed under Human Resources. Item 1, authorize the promotion of Ronald Ratowski from First Deputy Controller Project Manager in the Office of Controller to Director of Election Services in the Election Services Department. Item 2, and I want to note there is a change from the published agenda, and I'm going to read the update. I'll highlight. Normally I don't read the whole piece, but I will since there's a change from the agenda. Authorize the promotion of Amy Sundstrom from Victim Witness Supervisor to Director of Children's Alliance Center and Victim Witness Supervisor in the District Attorney's Office, effective 12/23. The rate and salary range is listed. And then this is what has been added. This salary includes Ms. Sundstrom's 2021 annual increase. And then it continues, new position created by Salary Board on November the 12th. The request meets the criteria of the hiring policy and budget. Item 3, authorize the promotion for Assistant District Attorney and Assistant Public Defenders Departments per the attached promotion memorandum. The new salary listed includes the 2021 annual increase. Item 4, authorize salary adjustments effective January 1st of 2021 per the attached salary adjustment memorandum. The new salary listed includes the 2021 annual increase. And item 5, authorize the approval of the 2021 Management Confidential and part-time annual salary increases of 2.5% per the attached memorandum. Purchasing. We have one item, adopt a resolution authorizing the award and the Director of Contracts and Procurements to execute a 2-year contract as a result of an invitation to bid for food provisions milk to be utilized by the Berks County Jail, Berks County Residential Center, and Berksheim. In accordance with the agreement, unit prices shall be adjusted monthly based on the Pennsylvania Milk Marketing Board Area 2 pricing, less quantity discounts based on an aggregate delivery total of 1,000 quarts. This is with Clover Farms, local processor out of Reading, PA. Estimated annual cost is $189,785.16. We have one item listed under Commissioner Rivera. Adopt a resolution authorizing the appointment of Paula K. Barrett, Wyomissing, PA, to the Berks County Municipal Authority to fill the remainder of a 5-year term, which will expire December 31st of 2022. Several items are listed under the Commissioners. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the agreement to participate in the Unemployment Compensation Program of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania Unemployment Compensation Trust, updated December of 2020. Item B, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the Memorandum of Agreement regarding 1-year contract extensions between the County of Berks and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, District Council 88, Local 462, on the behalf of county employees in the court-appointed, court-related bargaining unit and the residual bargaining unit, extending the collective bargaining agreements to December 31st of 2021. Item C, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the Bid for Assets Professional Services Agreement to provide internet advertising and online auction services for the Berks County Sheriff's Sales. Item D, adopt a resolution authorizing Brian Gottschall, Director of the Berks County Department of Emergency Services, to execute an amendment to the contract between the County of Berks and Tyler New World CAD to add a mobility site license at a one-time cost of $57,750 with annual maintenance costs of $12,128 beginning August 1st of 2021 and annual escalators in future years as defined in the contract document. Item E, adopt a resolution authorizing Shelley O'Neill, Project Manager, Berks County Information Systems, to execute a change order dated December 1st of 2020 for monthly automated patch testing for the Oracle Cloud EMP PBCS application. Item F, adopt a resolution ratifying, confirming, and approving Dennis Adams, Berks County Treasurer, execution of the Global Master Service Agreement between ADP Inc., Roslyn, New Jersey, and the County of Berks to provide tax payments and reporting services, and further authorizes Mr. Adams to execute 2 wire transfer authorization documents for said transactions. Item G, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the agreement regarding mutual non-disclosure of information between Crayon Software Experts, LLC, a Delaware corporation, with the county and the County of Berks to conduct a review and identify the scope and price for software license review services. Item H, adopt a resolution authorizing a county match of $420,178 to the South Central Transportation Authority for local operating financial assistance pursuant to 74 PACS Section 1513 in fiscal year 2020 through 2021. Item I, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the agreement between the counties and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development to fund an update to the current State Tax and Equalization Board database system by withholding a 20-cent per real estate transfer or conveyance payable to the reporting county for a period of 10 years. In exchange, DCED will allow access to each county's chief assessor and 1 additional person to the database at no charge to the county. Item J, adopt a resolution authorizing Amy Resch, Berks County Public Library System Administrator, to execute the Berks County Library System Automation Agreement and the Berks County Library System Membership Agreement on behalf of the County of Berks. Item K, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the grant award notification for the PCCD grant for 2018, 2019, 2020, enhancing services to Berks County victims. Item L, adopt a resolution authorizing execution of the PCCD grant project modification. Berks County Drug Court Initiative grant funds are being reallocated to pay for additional items. Item M, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute the letter amendment to master planning agreement between the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and the County of Berks, which increases the overall budget capacity of the agreement from $3,405,000 to $3,755,000, covering services in the field of transportation planning and/or programming for the Reading Metropolitan Planning Organization for the period extending from July 1 of 16 through June 30th of 2022. Item 2, a motion authorizing execution of contract agreements and amendments as furnished by the contract coordinator is set forth on the attached listing dated December the 15th of 2020. excuse me. There are 9 contracts, 2 with the Berks County Jail, 1 jointly with the Berks County Jail, Adult Probation, Juvenile Probation, and the Sheriff's Department, 1 with CareerLink, 3 with Children and Youth Services, and 1 with Information Systems. Item 3, a motion to ratify and confirm payments is set forth on the Controller's Office voucher listing dated December the 15th of 2020, and the payment of electronic transfers and employee payroll.
Motion to approve the agenda is presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. We do not have a report from our county treasurer today, so we will go right to our county controller, Sandy Graffius.
Good morning. We had no payroll this week, so our total cash disbursements, the number is $6,063,101.15.
Thank you very much. We'll turn now to our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Ron Seaman.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to wish everybody the best of the holiday season and urge them to be careful in their celebrations, and congratulate Bob Trezio and his staff on the preparation and delivery of the budget for 2021.
Thank you very much, and we'll move now to Commissioners' reports, and we'll begin with Commissioner Kevin Barnhart.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach, and good morning to everyone who has joined us for the meeting. I want to refer back to the agenda and thank the ASME represented employees as well as their leadership for extending the contract into next year so we can have much more constructive dialogue. It'll be much easier to do next year than it was this year. So thank you to them. I want to congratulate Ron Rakowski for taking on the role of leading our elections department. He'll do a fine job. He'll get as much support as we can possibly give him from the Board of Elections, and congratulations to Ron Rakowski and to the department. I also want to thank everyone who has worked this year since this is our last meeting of the year in the first 3 phases of COVID-19 for the county. Those department heads, row officers, the courts, as well as the employees who worked through this troubling time. To the folks who are on our SET team, the Savings and Efficiency team, thank you. To Cook County Wellness, to our CARES Act team that has worked tremendously well throughout the course of this year to qualify and put that CARES Act money out on the street to its best and highest use. To the team in election services and everyone who pulled together from the county to make this a really good election for us. Very proud of the team. And to the COVID leadership team. We started in probably mid-March and we're meeting 7 days a week through the beginning of the phases of COVID-19. So I don't want to leave anybody out, but I just wanted to kind of highlight tremendous things and challenges we faced this year. But to the person, people stepped forward and really did and continue to do extra time and effort on behalf of the residents of Berks County. And I'd certainly love to wish everyone a happy and safe and prosperous holiday season. And please, please stay safe. Do what you need to do. We want to hear everybody back here early next year as we continue to confront this virus and move forward into a prosperous 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rivera.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. I have a few things I want to update on here. I just want to let everyone know that the trailers for the Hope Rescue Mission for the homeless men that are COVID positive and have to quarantine have arrived. They have 3 on site now. I'm going to ask IS to put up the pictures. There's some pictures there so you can see those. Want to thank Ken Pick at the Redevelopment Authority and his staff there for making this possible. I know we were looking at many different options, and this finally came up. So thank you to Ken in the Redevelopment Authority, Modesto at Opportunity House, Rob Turchi at Hope Rescue Mission, Jamal and David Parrish at the city as well for helping with the zoning permit process. So thank you to everyone who made this possible. They had their first person there yesterday that was at the hospital. And this is extremely important because, as you saw earlier on from Brian's report, the numbers have gone up at the hospitals. The hospitals are full now, and they really need those beds and being able to get the homeless people that need to quarantine out of there into these trailers. It's an excellent way to have more beds available at the hospitals, apart from the fact that Hope Rescue Mission can also service them and provide for the other needs that these homeless men have as well. So thank you to everyone involved, and hopefully the rest of the plans that the Redevelopment Authority has as well for not only homeless men and women, but families as well that are COVID positive and need to quarantine will come to fruition shortly as well. Thanks to all who were involved. An update on the rent relief program funded by the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. That ended on November 30th, and that again was run through Ken Pig, Peter Battaglia, and the Redevelopment Authority. The Redevelopment Authority received $1,469,841 in grants for that program for rental relief assistance. There were a total of 700 applications that they received. Out of those, 379 applications were approved. 320 were not approved, and that could be because they didn't meet the criteria, they didn't provide all the information requested, whatnot. But from the original amount, the authority only returned $126,159. $79,800 was used for administration, and $1,263,882 was used for rental assistance payment. So that means money that goes to the landlords, money that is helping tenants from being evicted. The goal of that program was to keep people in their house rather than having to find other housing for them, which is now a major issue during COVID. So again, thank you to the Redevelopment Authority for working. I know it took many hours for them to work on this program. So thank you for helping out 379 families within the city of Reading and the rest of the county as well. Update on the New Start Grant Program. We are expecting to fund 477 businesses. We'll have the exact number next week, but it's expected 477 businesses, adding up to $11,355,500. So again, great work to everyone who was involved in that process. I also want to congratulate Ron Mikowski in his new role. Looking forward to a great year with him there in election services and the great work that election services did, the team during the elections. I want to thank everyone who helped me throughout this first year. This will be my first year as commissioner is ending, so I want to thank everyone. Barbara Lopez, my executive assistant, has been a great help. My colleagues, Commissioner Barnhart and Commissioner Leinbach, I want to thank them as well for their support during this first year, as well as their assistance as well, and everyone else on the 13th floor. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to a great 2021. I also want to thank all the department heads, county staff. If I go through everyone, we'll be here all day, but everyone, really, this has been a hard year for everyone here in county government. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for being flexible. Thank you for being adaptable. And thank you for doing what needs to get done to be able to get through 2020 and moving into 21 in a strong financial position and being able to keep all the work moving forward that the county has been doing. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, a blessed New Year, and please, during this holiday season, please stay safe, stay healthy, do what you can, wear your mask, social distancing, so that you can get through this season without any health incidents. Thank you very much. You're on mute.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera. I appreciate your comments as well as Commissioner Barnhart. I have several points I'd like to cover. First of all, yesterday we had our prison board meeting, and the commissioners have been very concerned about our jail population. And it was great to hear yesterday that the jail population is down fairly significantly in the 700s versus the 800s. And that's largely due to the efforts of our warden, our district attorney, our president judge, adult probation. We're really working to limit and continuing to look at ways to limit who needs to be in the county jail. We're not talking about releasing violent offenders. We're simply talking about people that are clearly nonviolent and that where there are other options to jail. And that has borne some significant results, and just wanted to share that with everyone. I also want to congratulate Ron Rutkowski, our new Director of Elections. I believe he will formally begin that role in the beginning of the new year. He's currently with our controller, and we've known Ron for quite some time, but glad to have him join a great team down in our elections department. And I want to offer some thanks as well. 2020, I don't know what else we can say. It's been a really crazy year. It's been frustrating at the best for some, and at the worst, people have lost loved ones and friends as a result of COVID. It's been a rough year from a political standpoint. One, at least in my lifetime, one of the most divisive, at times even vicious, election cycles that I've seen. But in spite of that, I want to thank my fellow commissioners and their executive assistants for being people that have sought to stay above the fray, to work to do our job, to work to provide the best information to the public, to focus when it comes to elections on doing what we need to do to protect the integrity of elections. And I don't know that there are two other people that I would rather have worked with in 2020 than Commissioner Barnhart, Commissioner Rivera, and all three of our assistants, Mary Buer, Jess Blauser, and Barbara Lopez. I also want to thank the leadership team, not just the COVID leadership team, our solicitor's office, HR, their leadership in all of the efforts, Brian Gottschall, Stephanie Weaver, Pam Shupp and Stephanie Weaver came on partway through this crisis. And just yesterday, I talked to Mary Buer and said, boy, I wonder where we would be right now if we didn't have Stephanie Weaver here and we didn't have Pam Shupp. They have really stepped up in a big way, not just around COVID-19, but a number of different areas. And we are so appreciative of the folks on our leadership team. I want to also recognize our information systems department. You're watching us on Microsoft Teams, maybe Facebook Live, maybe YouTube Live. This time last year, we didn't do any of this. We didn't even really know about Microsoft Teams until some of us noticed it in an update of February this year. But even when I noticed it, I couldn't figure out what it was all about. Today, we know what it's all about. And without the tremendous support of our IS department, and I know a number of them are on here right now. I'm not going to get all their names, but the regular group of Heather Berger, Lori Schneider, Malcolm Towns, Chuck Brantman, Tim Smith, led by Justin Luce. We could not make these meetings open and accessible to you, our Berks County residents, if it wasn't for the tremendous work of our IS department. And I want you to know they jumped in very quickly when COVID hit us, initially with internal meetings. It was almost overnight that we were using Microsoft Teams for internal meetings. And within probably a month, we began to use Microsoft Teams Live for public meetings. When we go back to in-person meetings, we will continue the Microsoft Teams Live access, the YouTube and Facebook Live as well, because we believe it's a better way to be transparent about your county government. And I thank IS for the major role that they played. And then I want to thank, and I'm not going to name, all of our department heads and our employees. And I'm sure any business, any organization across our county could say the same thing. But this has been a rough year. There's been nothing predictable about 2020. And overwhelmingly, our employees, our department heads, our management level folks have jumped in to do what they needed to do to keep county government moving forward. We are blessed as commissioners to lead an amazing county. But what you see on a day-to-day basis is not because of us. It's because of the people that make up the 2,300 employees here in Berks County. And I want to thank every one of them for the work that they do. As we come to the end of 2020, I don't know what your thoughts may be. I'm sure every one of us have similar experiences, and every one of us have unique experiences. And you may find it hard to look back and be thankful for this year. But I will tell you, I look back and there are many things that I am thankful for. As we come to this holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or some other aspect of the holidays, I want to wish you and your family a safe, wonderful, happy holidays and a blessed Christmas season. With that, I will open it up to any of our row officers for comments.
I'd just like to wish everybody a happy season as they can. It's tough for some families. It's going to be very tough. Others, it'll be a very joyous occasion. So stay safe. I'd like to congratulate the commissioners, and you guys congratulate everybody else, but nobody seems to congratulate the three of you collectively. I mean, it's good times, bad times, but you've provided a consistent leadership, and I appreciate it. So everybody have a great holiday as best they can, and our prayers are with you.
Thank you very much, Dennis Adams. Cindy Graffius.
I just want to add my congratulations to Ron. Our loss is going to be your gain, and I'll tell you, him moving into the elections department is a real plus for the county. He'll do a great job.
Thank you, Sandy. Any other comments? Hearing none, we will go to public comment. Mary, if you would please read public comment at this time.
Amy, excuse me, Amy Levengood, Amity Township. One of the sticking points in the latest congressional negotiations on a COVID relief bill is the amount of aid going to state and local governments. As Tracy Gordon, a senior fellow with the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center, notes, states are subject to this 1-2 punch in recessions. Just as their revenues are falling, demand goes up for the programs that they provide, like subsidized health care and cash assistance to low-income people. With county government being bound by balanced budget requirements, either cuts will have to be made, taxes raised, or both. What do the commissioners project will happen in Berks if Congress doesn't allocate sufficient funding? What specifically do you see the most need right now? And which programs, agencies, etc., do you foresee will be the first to be affected? Jane Palmer, why I'm missing. Commissioners, as you may know, the legal stay on deportations has just been lifted. We understand that Ecuadorian and Salvadorian families will be deported starting tomorrow, and Haitian families on Tuesday. Lawyers for Berks families are pursuing stays in the Third Circuit, but are not optimistic. You have three choices. One, abandon these families to ICE and preside over their probable death in their home countries. Two, hope the families aren't deported and prescribe over their infection and possible death from COVID. Or three, terminate your contract with ICE once and for all and free the families. Which will you choose? David Del Negro, West Reading. Commissioners, incredible job holding the line on taxes. So grateful to have such a financially responsible crew in Berks. Obviously, so much of this is dependent on the vaccine pushing us towards a post-COVID era. Does your team have any plans to push a general rollout campaign in the next month as a sequel to stop the spread? Our ability to restore and grow our local economy is directly proportional to our ability to achieve herd immunity. Thank you. Barbara, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this last name, Olaway, Spring Township. So thankful for the work you all have led through this year. Thanks for running smooth elections. Thanks for holding public virtual meetings. Thanks for the detailed COVID-19 reports. And that concludes the comments from the Q&A.
Muted, Commissioner Weinbach.
You're muted, Commissioner.
Yeah, that's good.
For a while.
Okay, we'll remember the phrase from 2020, you're muted. We've all done it, but Amy Levingood raises an important point. As we know, Congress appears to be close to negotiating an agreement on additional COVID-19 funding for the states. Unfortunately, it appears there is no funding in that for local governments. Most of the country, that means county government. Pennsylvania, obviously, that would be county and municipal government. And Amy is asking what impact that will have. And I want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, in the spring, when the crisis began, I can remember Brian Gottschall, one of our first meetings, and we were talking about separating any expenditures related to COVID. And he gave this advice, and I will tell you, our entire team, not just the commissioners, adopted it immediately. And it was this: don't make a decision to spend money assuming you're going to get reimbursed. Every decision to spend should assume you're not going to be reimbursed. And that was important advice. I think it's good advice for any business. It's good advice for finances in our home. But we made that decision out of the gate. And as a result, I can honestly say we didn't spend money that we didn't believe was absolutely necessary. Yes, there are areas that we had to spend money that are not covered. And I'm going to give an opportunity when I'm done here for Commissioner Barnhart and possibly Bob Patrizio to address some of those numbers, because they are significant, and we are literally overall with county government millions of dollars short of where we should have been. I want to also note that from the very beginning, we took immediate action to cut spending because we said, and I think I remember it was Commissioner Barnhart in one of those very first meetings saying, we don't know how long this is going to be, but we are not going to raise taxes in 2021 knowing our residents are taking a hit. Well, we had no idea how deep and long the hit would be when we said that, but we made the commitment. Commissioner Barnhart was selected to chair the Savings and Efficiency team and immediately identified over $5 million in cuts in capital projects that were planned for 2020, but we deemed were not critical. It was at that point that we made the determination to stop the process that had been underway to build a new county jail. And at some point in the next several years, that has to get restarted. But we realized that taking on that type of a financial responsibility at the beginning of a pandemic was not a good idea. Those were very good decisions. The Savings and Efficiency team has continued to deliver not just cuts, but most recently, some technological enhancements that will save money over time in our courts. We discussed that at our operations meeting, I believe, this past Tuesday. So we are actively working to address this because of those decisions up front. We don't have a tax increase in 2021. Now, and I think there's a couple people, Dave Del Negro references as well. We have not seen the full impact economically of COVID-19. And my guess is we won't really begin to get the full scope until maybe midsummer or even late 2020. So we need to continue to be vigilant. We need to continue to look for ways to do things more efficiently and to cut those areas that are not absolutely necessary to the core role of county government. So good questions, both Amy and Dave, and I wanted to give you my response to those. We're going to keep on top of it. Comments, and I'm going to kind of push if I can, Commissioner Barnhart. Do you want to talk a little bit about the kind of financial shortfall that we've seen as a county relative to COVID-19 dollars?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Weinbach. So in total, we're tracking about $15 million in expenses we were not budgeted for in 2020's budget plan. That's obviously overtime, personnel costs, PPE, gloves, masks, protective gowns for the nursing home, protective measures such as plexiglass throughout the county facilities, and technology. As everyone knows on this call, technology is not a cheap thing. So it's not hard to amass 15 million plus in expenses, but we did that in this year. And again, that has been a critical impact on the county. The other thing we put out for Amy Levengood's response, most in need, we have had and continue to see an uptick in substance use disorder, as well as overdose deaths from primarily opioids and those items that are added to opioids. We continue to press that message through SOS Berks. We used about $25,000 of CARES Act money to continue to push the marketing campaign, outreach, how to contact someone if you have a substance use disorder or a friend or loved one has a substance use disorder. We're putting out 50,000 mailers as well as numerous billboards throughout the community that people have to stay focused on substance use disorder. Somewhat in response to Jane Palmer's question from last week, I did contact Andrew Sharp immediately after our meeting last week, and I have not heard back. I left a detailed voicemail message asking for him to explain the difference in the two meetings that I was in and that you were in, and I haven't heard back from Andrew Sharp. And last but not least, to David Del Negro, Stephanie Weaver, our public information officer, has been working the last few weeks on what does it look like coming through the Do Your Part, Stop the Spread. What will that campaign look like probably at or near the first of the year? So a lot of wheels in motion, a lot of things coming up, and we certainly have to look at the future through marketing, building a better Berks, and Let's Go Local, those efforts through the Chamber, Greater Reading Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as our tour. A lot of things ahead of us. We've done a lot this year, but a lot remains to be undone going into 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Barnhart. One thing and this always happens, when I was recognizing our leadership team, I left out some folks by accident. So let me just quickly go through the leadership team. Ron Seaman, our Chief Administrative Officer, key player all the way through this thing. A lot of experience here in the county. Our Deputy CAO, Pam Shupp, our Chief Clerk, and really a support team to the support member of the CAO team, Mary Jo Gibson. Christine Sadler, our county solicitor, and Cody Kaufman, who has been in most of the meetings and also is one of the newer members. I mentioned the commissioners and their assistants and Brian Gottschall, but on the HR side, Jess Weekneck, our HR director, and her deputy, Kristen Scheffler, have been very, very involved in the leadership team. And then, of course, Brian Gottschall, the lead for the whole group. I just wanted to make sure when I talk about the leadership team, those are some very important people. We have been meeting virtually in the beginning, as Commissioner Barnhart said, every day. And since then, at least twice a week, many times more often than that. Any additional comments?
Yes, I have some notes here to answer, but between my two colleagues, all the notes that I had here were covered. So I'll not go through them again, but again, to everyone, to the people that come and attend these meetings, make the comments. Thank you very much. I know sometimes we don't always agree with the comments or what is said, but at least I do appreciate the input, your insights, and that you are interested in county government and what is going on here. So thank you very much. Again, to all, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and may 2021 be blessed for you and for your family as well. And please all stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Our final meeting of 2020 is officially adjourned.